All right. Today, I want to talk to you about a really critical issue. And I had a great conversation earlier this week with a friend. So I thought I'd throw together some great information that could help everyone do a better job at bringing together what they know to build the perfect research paper. And this is an important topic because the reality is we're doing research all the time. We're always trying to find better ways to share the information that we have to get a deeper insight into the topics that we want to cover. And maybe you just need to sharpen your message, or perhaps you just need a few tips to conduct better research so you can bring your points together and be more strategic about how you communicate with others. So, I'm going to go through some key things that I've been doing to improve my ability to do research and convey that information. And we do that through white papers, research papers, and presentations. So it's not specific just to research papers, but I think you're going to find there's some valuable information that I can share with you today that can really help you. Now, before I dive into the key tips, I want to share with you three important cautionary things. The first is I want you to understand that what we're talking about today isn't using AI to allow you to turn your brain off. You're not going to have AI do all of the work for you. It doesn't matter how good it is, you have to be deeply involved in the process. And the reason for that is number two. Anything that we put out has to have our stamp of approval, our stamp of quality involved. We know from recent litigation that even AI are not allowed to create a patent or own intellectual property. It's on you. There has to be a human attached. So you need to own every bit of the work that you do. And number three, the overall goal of the work that we're doing here today is to share information. But what I'm going to show you is how to make you better in that process. So it's not just about your message, it's about you. So let's dive into the material and talk about how we can use prompt engineering to help us build the perfect research paper. Now, I'm going to retrace some of the things that we've talked about on the channel in the past, but if you're new to the channel or this is your first experience with AI mistakes, I wanted to call this out. Andrej Karpathy is a well-known machine learning and artificial intelligence individual. He's worked across Tesla and OpenAI, and most recently has announced that he's going to be striking out on his own and doing something independent. This is his quote: "The hottest new programming language is English." And why is that? Because prompting is so essential to getting a good result with artificial intelligence. But that opens the door for us to do a lot of really amazing things. At its core, prompt engineering is natural language programming, which means that we're using natural human language, including our emotions, our thoughts, and explaining and understanding concepts. And the key to this is that we are providing contextual information, sometimes in a very ambiguous situation, to communicate with someone else. Now, the reality of the way that we communicate today means that we are leveraging what we know to share a message. The good news is that the nature of our relationship and using AI and the most recent emerging technology advances really leverages what we're already doing to make our results better. And the key message I want to start with is that prompting doesn't have to be complicated. We have this habit of overcomplicating things, and there are some important tips that you can incorporate into how you're working with the system to improve your results in a dramatic way without having to be a prompt engineer. Because the truth is, anyone can use these tools to make the outcome better. So let's not overcomplicate this. Let's just start using it, do so more rapidly, and we're going to see better results. So what can we do to get better results? Well, the very first thing I want to share with you is something that's a bit of a misnomer, and we've seen this mistake repeated a number of times. And so I wanted to reiterate it for you again today. And that is, there are many AI tools that are available, but many of those AI tools don't use the best, most capable AI models that exist today. And right now, at this moment, as I make this video, the three models that you should be looking at for doing this are OpenAI's GPT-4, or the pro version of ChatGPT, leveraging the most advanced model GPT-4 in your chat session. A second option would be Google's Gemini, which is a very effective model. It's very intelligent and it has really scored quite well. If you're using Gemini Pro, you're on the higher level capable. There is an even more capable version that is available through 1.5 with some extra steps. But if you're just leveraging the advanced version of Gemini, that's going to get you to an advanced level of AI tooling. The third option was released just last week. It's Claude 3 by Anthropic. And last week's video talked about the different models that are available. But if you're using Claude 3 Opus, that is the most advanced model that's available. And it's going to make a tremendous difference in the quality of results you're going to be getting from the model. And this is very important because you need to start with the best information possible when you're working with the AI. And that's for two reasons. One, we're spending time improving you and your thought about the subject, and we're going to leverage the AI to move us more rapidly through the drafting and iteration process in creating the output that we're looking for. Okay, so let's keep going here because I want to start with this very essential idea. If we think about the message that we are communicating at its core as a conversation with another individual, but leveraging AI as a sit-in for that, we can begin a dialogue about what it is that we want to share very quickly by simply putting that idea out there and begin discussing it. If we have a dialogue with a very intelligent person in an advanced way, it's going to improve the way that we are thinking about the subject. By leveraging the chatbot in this way, we're able to build a more concrete, more complete thought in the way that we're presenting the information. And this is really the very first step as we begin to talk about the idea. Now, there are all sorts of resources and references that we can use when we are building our base of information. And we don't want to skip over those, but what we want to do is augment what we already know. Begin talking about what you already have begun to understand and what you think is important, and look for gaps in how you're thinking about the problem. If we can build a more complete understanding for ourselves in how we're approaching the subject, then the outcome of whatever we write or build is going to be dramatically improved because we understand it better. And this is really essential, especially in the very early phases of putting together your information. There was a study that has been released by a group of people that did a focused investigation. Multiple well-known universities worked with a company called BCG to conduct this test using generative AI collaboration to test out the premise of can the results be better when you're using AI? And what they discovered in the research so far is that the change in the performance output was pretty dramatic, especially when the person using the tool did not know this subject extremely well. So the results that you're looking at on this screen right now basically showed that for the people that already knew everything, it didn't dramatically improve their performance. But for those that didn't understand it substantially, they were able to create a better outcome simply by using the most advanced generative AI models that were available at the time. And they actually showed this result across many different kinds of tasks. And the essence of this is that every element got better because they were using the AI. Now, I do want to point out something really, really critical on this bit of information here. And I want to highlight this so that you don't miss it. There is a very important data point right here early on in our slide presentation. And you see that little red area at the beginning? That was what happens when the human involved in the process turns off their brain and counts on the AI to do absolutely everything for them. See, the result there is not good. In fact, it's so bad, it's an embarrassment. And this is the one thing that we absolutely cannot do as the human in the process. We have to be responsible for the information that we're conveying. And that means that we're going to use these tools to improve our quality, to improve our result, and improve our understanding. And if we do it that way, all of the outcomes are going to be better. And this is the key takeaway. The very most important point that you can take away is that we are making ourselves better and the outcomes better by engaging the AI to make us better and using that relationship to improve the result. That's the first step. Now, as we keep going in the discussion, the most important takeaway with the AI is that it's going to do a better job if you do a better job of providing context. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone where you changed the subject and they were very confused? Well, that's kind of what happens with an AI. If you come in and ask an off the cuff question and it doesn't understand the context, you're going to get results that aren't very good. And so we have to do a better job of providing context in the conversation with the AI to improve our results. Now, you might be asking, how do we do that? Well, when we talk about this concept of prompt engineering, really at its core, without having to spend many hours researching and understand all of the complexities of the AI and what it can do, there's a few important steps that you can take. Now, I'm calling it structured prompting. This isn't an official name, but I really do think that if we just take the time to think more deeply about what it is that we're trying to do and apply some structure to that messaging, we're going to get dramatically improved results. And many papers have been written on this subject. There are many different methods that people use to structure their prompts. I honestly think it's less important which one of these you choose, because just using one of these versus another is going to make such a dramatic difference compared to doing nothing. Now, there are a few that I'm going to showcase here that we'll talk through, but the message I want you to take away from this bit of structured prompting information is that there are some key pieces of information that we're going to include in the prompt. And if you're building a research paper, I think the most important ones are, what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish here? Let it know that you're building a research paper. Plug in the information that you already have that you know is essential to answering the question. Be sure to provide some examples of output and to give it the context of exactly what it is that you're trying to do by giving it a role or explaining that it's going to be an expert or providing some specific information about the audience so that the context of what the underlying message will relay is provided to the AI. And this is important because what we've seen is that in many cases, these AI tools are able to rank better than the average person taking some very sophisticated, well-known tests. Now, I'm not going to talk about the results in detail here today, but just know that essentially across the board, AI models like GPT-4 are performing better than the average human across many, many different domains. And so the truth is that you can create a dramatically improved outcome for yourself simply by using better prompts to give it the most context possible. All right, now here's an example of what someone has used to build a very complex prompt. Now, the first thing I want you to observe here is that we're talking about a prompt that is a huge, enormous paragraph. And that's actually okay, because all of that information is used as context for the AI model in responding to the query that you're giving it. Now, Each of these is labeled. And if you look closely at the slide, you can see the different colors that are here. There's role and goal. There's step-by-step instructions. There's a pedagogy, a methodology behind the education. And there's some constraints and personalization that has been applied. And again, using this specific structure of prompt isn't the most important. What is the most important is that you're using a structure and that is intentionally embedded in the prompt that you are providing. Now, once we've done that, we need to continue the conversation. One of the biggest mistakes that I see happening with these large language models and chat sessions is the expectation that a single prompt is going to get you the best outcome. And the reality is that's just not the case. In fact, you do want to take the time to think through your prompt, but don't stop there. Leverage the advanced prompt and then go beyond it with a chat. Continue the conversation to refine the message, to ask more questions, to have a deeper conversation with the AI so that you come away from that chat knowing something new that you didn't know when you started. And see, this is the key takeaway from everything that we're talking about today. And that is, if we can improve you and your knowledge, we can improve your results in communicating that to someone else, no matter how we've decided to use the AI to do that. Now, the takeaway, the action in going and leveraging these tools is to stop and think. What is it that you're trying to do? If you're trying to write something, give it examples of the writing. That's writing from you, that's writing from someone else, that is giving it the context that helps it understand what a good result is. And if you want to leverage AI more for your writing, create some samples, do some actual writing, or go through and use your best writing as an example to give to the AI model so that it understands the tone, so that it understands the pacing, the kind of vocabulary and language that you use. Many people today are very concerned about how AI is being incorporated into the work that we do. And there are many people that believe that they can read a paper, they can read some writing and immediately identify whether or not AI did the work. Well, the truth is, if you've given the AI a sample of your own writing, it's going to incorporate that into the results. Now, am I suggesting that you give it samples of your writing and let it do all of the work? No, I'm actually not. But if you're giving it examples of your own writing, you're going to get a result that's closer to the way that you think and write. And that's going to lead to a better result for you. Because ultimately, once again, if we improve your style, if we improve the way that you are doing the work, we're going to get a better outcome. Now, the same is true across research. If you're doing some research, give it an idea of the kind of things that you want it to pull out. What kind of information are you searching for? And when you're writing that final paper, give it the premise that you want to start from and ask it to evaluate. In fact, oftentimes you can take a full draft of a paper, give it to the AI and say, how can I make this better? But you can go beyond how can I make this better? You can ask it to scrutinize. You can ask it to grade it. It can tell you how you did with the work, both in terms of what can be improved and what you did that was good. Essentially, we can use the AI as a personal tutor to improve your knowledge of the situation and improve the way that you're communicating the facts that you want to share in that research. And so by leveraging these advanced tools, we can do some really big, important things. The first is leverage it to write a draft. You don't have to wait until you've read absolutely everything to get started. Leverage it to give you a jumping off point. If you just use it to get started more rapidly, that's going to be a tremendous, tremendous advantage for you. The second point is use it to think about what it is that you want to present. Find unique ways to present the information, new ways to characterize it, and new points that you can bring out in the message that you share. Ultimately, if we're able to expand the way that we think about the problem, about the message that we're communicating, we're going to do a more effective job of exactly that. And ultimately, we can use the AI to not only get started faster, but to iterate faster so that we're able to consistently improve. So if you have 2 weeks to get the work done, you can start day one on a concrete draft that's going to move you toward your goal. You're going to feel better about how you're coming along in that process because you've got a draft, and you're going to be able to incrementally improve that by interacting with the AI to better understand it, identify better research points, and incorporate that into a more comprehensive and more thought about composition of points by leveraging an outline and talking uniquely and critically about each one of those points as you're developing your research paper. So there's a lot of really great things that we can do in leveraging these tools. And by doing the keys, using a better AI capability, using the tools in new ways to improve the way that we think about the problem and communicate that more effectively in the way that we write, you can do a much better job in building your research paper. You can use advanced prompting techniques to improve the structure, the way that you communicate with the AI. So not only are you improving, you're getting better results from the AI tools that you're using to develop your premise. I hope this has been useful to you. If you're finding this valuable, I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to the channel. Hit me up on social media. Ask questions. I'd love to have chats with you. I want to learn about your problems. I want to be able to help. And look, the more we have a conversation, the more we can learn from each other. And the important thing is to go make some mistakes. See you next time.